Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. With me on the show this week is porn historian and writer Noelle Perdue. We are going to talk about so much porn in this episode. We're going to talk about taboo porn. We're going to talk about the state of porn and censorship in the United States right now under the current administration. We're going to talk about sex with furniture. We're going to discuss some horny fan fiction with Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Harry Styles. We are going to go into all of the wild and wonderful places that porn can take you. We're going to talk about Noelle's work as a writer and how some of the step porn you may have consumed, she may have been the one to write the script. This episode is so much fun. I think you're going to laugh your ass off. You're going to learn a ton. It's a party. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Noelle Perdue.
This week's conversation.
Noelle Perdue, welcome to Sex Party. How are you doing?
I am great. I'm ready to sex party.
That's always a great answer. I'm so happy to have you. I feel like, you know, your content, just in the last, I would say probably 2 weeks, just really grabbed my attention, and I started following and, paying attention to what you were doing. And you had a story that you put out and you're like, I'm not getting enough death threats. How do I up the ante? Right.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, I get death threats all the time, daily almost.
Yeah,
every other day.
Share. Very jealous.
Yeah. From red pill weirdo dudes and, older white men. And I was like, hey, you should come on the show. And you're like, awesome. And here we are. It's as simple as that, folks. So for the people who just think that I'm nuts, which is everyone, but they're like, what is this fucking goon up to this week? Could you talk about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Noelle Perdue. I am a porn historian, which kind of just means that I mostly am a writer, and I write a lot about how pornography influences legislation, technology, kind of the development of technology and legislation, and kind of has really shaped so many things that we interact with daily. And I think it's not really something that we learn about in school, of how influential pornography is. So I try to talk about that.
Yeah. And I mean, what a topic to pick. And I'm not going to ask you the question that everyone would ask you at this point in the interview where, oh, how'd you get into that? I'm going to wait till at least the middle to ask you that question.
I mean, you can ask me. I've already answered it twice today. So we're
gonna, yeah, I know. But I can't be that guy. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it right off. Oh, how'd you get into that? But I will ask probably in the middle sometime after the halfway point. Okay. The way everything is now, being a porn historian, a writer, I mean, and you write for all sorts of major publications too, which I think is just amazing. The state that we're in right now, and this is being recorded in March of 2025, and things are changing every 15 fucking seconds. So I want to make sure to get this on record. How are you feeling about the state of freedom of speech and expression around porn at this very moment? Are we in danger?
Yeah, we're in danger. It's definitely concerning. I think that there is this really powerful push towards conservatism that we're seeing. And with that comes this really intense movement towards censorship, particularly around kind of sexuality censorship. That obviously pornography is really taking a beating with, because I do feel like the adult industry tends to be kind of a scapegoat when people are uncomfortable with anything to do with sexuality. It's like the easy boogeyman to go after. So yeah, I think that we should be concerned. I think things like, the push towards making all pornography illegal that we're seeing from various lawmakers is really concerning. I think that the kind of ways that anti-pornography legislation is being written, people who don't even watch pornography should be worried about, because it's intentionally vague, and if they're coming for us, they're going to come for you too. So yeah, I think that you should be worried. I think that being worried, being stressed is correct.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you know, I had Cherie DeVille on, who's a friend of the show now, because I mean, she was just brilliant in her explanation of what happens. You know, they try to masquerade this age verification thing, and I think it's like what 13 or 15 states now that have age verification laws for Pornhub, where you have to essentially take a picture of your ID, and you'll be better at explaining why that's bad. But I would, if you can, like from your unique perspective of really being entrenched in writing about this stuff, could you explain to the audience like how something so, it might seem so benign, but it's actually like will lead to really bad things if this were to go through like nationwide?
I mean, I think that the interesting thing about the whole age verification debate, discussion, is that there are so many ways to kind of moderate on the device side who can access adult material, like various ways of blocking websites and content, et cetera, that you can place on your device that parents can use to place on their devices, et cetera, et cetera. This has existed for a really long time, and the technology is there, and the technology is good. And instead, all of these states and these lawmakers are, instead of kind of pushing for that, technology to be used that as a practice, education around pornography, education around adult content and media literacy, instead of doing that, they're demanding to gain access to not only your identification, your personal information, but also in many instances your biometric data, your facial scans, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just information that these companies are going to be collecting. And that's concerning, where it's like you have to ask, if we have this other option that actually works consistently and it's easy to use, it's available and it's accessible, why are these states, why are these lawmakers, why are these companies pushing for biometric data collection? That's weird. That's weird as fuck.
Yeah, it is weird as fuck. Yeah. Well, and then also too, and to Cherie DeVille's point, she's like, hey, if you're going to, so she said that out of the, I don't know, whatever it was, that the states that have the law, only 1% of people actually comply with it, but everyone's still going and watching porn and masturbating and doing all the things. But now, because they have to show their ID on one site that is somewhat moderated or whatever, and we can get into that too, that they're now going to places that are in foreign government territory that are much more dangerous. And so she made the point, and obviously I'm not making it as eloquent as she did, but that it's basically this age verification thing is actually pushing people, and also the people you're trying to protect, like kids and shit, to other more dangerous sort of
Yeah, of course.
no rules kind of websites.
Yeah, it's like all of the companies that are actually, subscribing to this legislation are the companies that are kind of like the companies that are most likely to align with the state legislation, like, which are already the companies that are doing the age verification for performers. They're the companies that are taking, consent forms, or the companies that are taking IDs for content uploading. And all of the websites that are not going to be doing, not going to be checking the ages of their users are the companies and the platforms that don't give a fuck. And like, we want companies to give a fuck a little bit, but if you're actively making it so that people are disincentivized to visit those companies that give a fuck, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. Yeah.
It is.
And the thing is again, we have this one of many approaches or laws or whatever it is that, oh, we're doing this to protect you, but we're doing this to protect children and all these things that are, if you look at the science behind it, it's not protecting anyone. It's making it worse for everyone. Do you think this is a fucking huge question? So feel free to take it apart however you want and answer it again from your own unique perspective. But why? Is this a religious thing? Is this a money grab thing? Is this a control thing? Is it all three? Is it something I didn't mention? I mean, why such a push? We hear about Christian nationalism, and I'm constantly shooting my mouth off in comment sections about how that's the most dangerous thing in the world. But from you, like, why is there such an anti-porn push from government?
I mean, I think that pornography is so often used as this like Trojan horse for conservative ideologies and conservative legislation because, as I mentioned before, pornography is so deeply stigmatized, even among, liberal and left communities, that it's really easy to kind of make pornography this boogeyman, this straw man for something scary that we have to protect ourselves from. And, in kind of creating that boogeyman, actually usher in this like really coercive, deeply, Christian nationalist ideology, anti-sex ideology, anti-gay ideology, like everything, anti-woman, etc. It's like, it's very controlling. And again, like when we see the way that, obscenity law is written, we see that play out, like it's not like pornography has an accurate working definition in legislation. It's not like obscenity does not have a working definition in legislation. And yet all of this legislation is being written around it as if it is. And that very effectively gets used to weaponize against, any number of communities, any number of people or practices that go against this, as you said, like kind of white Christian, like deeply heterosexual, deeply, nuclear family, idealized person.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's a combination of things. And again, like from the government side, they're like, oh, religious people are scared of it, so let's weaponize it. And then maybe we can get more control on the back end through everything else we want to do, right? We'll sneak it through there. And you're right, too. I do want to point out, it is on both sides. I mean, obviously the right, the conservative, is a little harsher and more upfront about it. But like, I just discovered some stuff that like the Biden administration was doing with like SESTA FOSTA, like laws that were like anti-sex worker, and that incredibly damaging, and like pushing for censorship on social media that they sort of, I don't want to say disguise, but we're saying, oh, this is about misinformation, but it covered sex. So you're totally correct when you say it is both sides of the aisle that are guilty of doing this.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really tricky because we're seeing kind of how much Christian nationalism, kind of like this deeply Puritan mindset, affects, not only conservative politics, but also very much so liberal politics. And I think that there right now there's this huge divide in the adult industry, this political divide. It's you can really feel it, of people have very mixed feelings about, the Trump administration in particular, which a lot of people are very surprised by. And, in some ways I was too, but it is, it's difficult because it's not like any major political party has been welcoming of, sex work and pornography in North America forever. So,
Yeah.
It's not like, there's a place, although I would say that definitely conservative politicians are far more aggressive in their antagonism of the adult industry and of sex work and sex workers. It's not like the Democratic Party is welcoming porn with open arms. It really has to come, I think, if we want to see a productive, I guess, reinvention of sexuality and how we interact with sexuality on a political level, we're working from scratch.
Yeah. And so, okay, working from scratch, meaning what exactly? Because, if somebody's out there and like they're like, hey, I'm against this, I don't want, I mean, what options do we really have right now? Like, are you and me gonna make signs and go and fucking protest? Is that the only option? I mean, everyone's like, well, call your senator and tell them hands off my porn or whatever. I'm seeing the ads, you know, and I just worked the red carpet at AVN in January, and there was like a sentiment of fear. But then again, you're right. There was also a sub sentiment, I would call it, of rah, rah, Trump's in office. So there was like a 80-20 split where most people were fearful, nervous. And what was crazy is Trump was actually in town in Vegas that very same night. There's this rumor he was going to come to the AVN Awards. I'm like, y'all, he's not going to show up. But anyway, there was
maybe
this
Trump
weird
20 years ago would have showed up. I'm sure he would have.
I think that someone had started a rumor, you know, there's some Project 2025 thing. Where it was like, this is what's going to happen for a statement. He was just inaugurated. We're 5 days in. He's going to show up in person with a bus and we're all going to prison. That was sort of like the mindset that had been going through the expo the entire week.
Yeah.
And it was by the time we got to the award show, it was, and you're on the red carpet like I was, it was very fear driven. There was a lot of like kind of looking around to make sure that wasn't going to happen. So with all of that being said, what's the best course of action if you are someone who doesn't like this at all and you want to push back?
I mean, I think personally, what I am trying to do in my own work and kind of, you know, why I want to be in more spaces where maybe I'm pissing people off is because I don't want to be in an echo chamber. And I feel like often I can exist in an echo chamber of, you know, preaching to the choir of if I am only talking about, you know, how porn literacy is important to like people who work on porn sets, like, you know, it's not productive. It's not a productive conversation. But because also like people that aren't in the adult industry and aren't associated with the adult industry, I think it's easy for people that are within the adult industry to forget like how little communication there is within porn and outside of porn and between kind of porn consumers or people who don't consume porn and people who produce it and work in it. There's really like so little dialogue that happens, and there's so much kind of misinformation and fear mongering around pornography. And I think a lot of people project a lot of, you know, fear of sex and fear of intimacy and, you know, their own insecurities or misogyny that they've personally experienced onto the porn industry. And it really becomes this vessel for that having these conversations with people that are not associated with the adult industry about pornography and about media literacy specifically as it relates to porn really goes quite far. And also having these conversations around obscenity law and, you know, age verification and actually breaking down of like, hey, like, do you know that there's actually a lot of technology that exists for parents to control, you know, who can access what on family computers, and like why aren't they using that? Like why aren't these states pushing for that? Like asking those questions and making people think about like how, you know, this legislation that they think is only going to affect, you know, the dirty pornographers actually will affect them even if they don't even watch porn. Like nobody, it is not a good situation for anybody to have a bunch of companies have all of your personal data and your facial scans. Like that's not going to end well for anyone, even the most sex avoidant among us.
Yeah. No, I mean, seriously. Well, I mean, that goes back to what you're doing, and I love that you said that you're hoping that you're writing this up. I mean, and you have again, like, and I'm just gonna read off a couple like from your Instagram bio, like you know, you've been featured in Wired, Washington Post, Netflix, Rolling Stone, them, Slate, BBC, CBC, Pornhub. I mean, like, you know, come on, those are some of the biggest, you know, outlets. Do you find when you write something, and obviously we talked about the negative pushback to stuff that you write, and I get that too with every episode or whatever, and that's what brought us together, which I love. But you know, how many moments are you having where you do write something for any outlet, your Substack or just like, Wired or whatever it may be, and you have someone who's just an everyday person that was like, I read that and holy shit. Like, does that happen often, or is it few and far between for you?
No, that happens often. And I get that even, you know, I was at a party last week and somebody approached me and was like, actually said that very thing of said, I know that you're probably surrounded by people that already know about what you're talking about, but I just want you to know that I don't know any of this, and everything that you're saying is totally new information to me, and I've never thought about these things like this before. And we had this really great dialogue because that's true. Like, I forget that people just aren't thinking about this the same way that people who obviously are like going to the state of the industry talk at XBiz, are. And this isn't a kitchen table conversation that people are having. People don't talk about porn, which is really interesting and funny because obviously if you're in porn, all you talk about is porn. All I talk about is porn. So I forget that, but I do have a lot of conversations with people, and just people who are excited to talk about pornography. And I think that that's kind of the biggest thing that I notice is that, sometimes I get frustrated at how much people want to talk about porn with me all the time, because I'm like, guys, I'm off the clock. Come on. Let's talk about taxes, please.
God.
But then I have to remember that, this is probably the only opportunity that somebody has felt truly comfortable to talk about pornography, maybe in their lives. So I have to have a little bit of space to be like, okay, yeah, because like, it's not often that people will meet somebody that wants to talk about porn and doesn't think that that's intimate or too personal, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, where are you meeting these people? Are people coming up to you in the coffee shop, or are you just like meet like you said at parties? But I mean, probably like events or something where people they find out what you do and like, oh my God, wait a minute, and then they want to talk your ear off about the industry.
Yeah.
But do you find yourself kind of like you said, like getting thrown into conversations like just at random where you never expect it? Like you're just at a fucking yoga class and someone starts talking.
For sure. I mean, it's so funny because it is one of those things where, and I think that a lot of people who work in and adjacent to sex and sexuality feel this, but like the question of what do you do is such a banal thing. It's like the first thing that people ask, and it's supposed to be this really boring question, but whenever somebody asks that, I know that the answer is opening up this huge can of worms. And so sometimes I try to like talk around it. I'm like, I'm a writer, and they're like, what do you write about? I'm like, terms and conditions. And then nobody wants to talk to me. And then I'm like, it's not a lie. I do write about terms and conditions, but it's the answer that I know will make everybody kind of just be like, oh, cool. So anyways, and I'm like, whew, scot-free.
Yeah. I get that a lot too. Like, I do social media, like, consulting a bit, as a day job, and, it'll come up sometimes. Oh, you have a podcast? And I'm like, yeah. And if I want to, go full in, what's it about? And I'm like, oh, sex and relationships and blah, blah, blah. But if I don't, and I feel like, okay, I can't do this. We're at like 19 hours, it's right now. I'll be like, oh, just relationships. But the thing is, and they're like, well, what's the name of it? And so then by the time I say the fucking name, then I'm just
You're
done
trapped.
for. Yeah.
Your name is too fun. Sex party? You should have chosen something more boring.
Yeah, I can't. Although sex is in there and I'm constantly censored for that. They keep trying to get me to change my name. That was by design. I didn't realize how much pushback we would get from fucking platforms.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, no, it's so bad. So I definitely feel you there. And I guess that brings up a good point too, because like, you had Mark Zuckerberg come out and say they were pulling the fact checkers, they were pulling, all of the whatever. And look, I don't there's a lot of things I could say right now. I know people who watch or listen, whoever you voted for, that's your thing. Do you at this point, like whatever. But it was a bit of a kiss the ring move, I think, from all these tech companies.
God. Kiss the ring is very generous of you. More like, kiss deep tongue the ass.
Yes. But he pulled, they're all doing it. They're all fucking eating ass.
Yeah, of course. It's so, honestly, I'm like, do you think that they felt dirty after? This is a real question. Do you think that they turned off the camera and they were alone in that room and they felt dirty? Do you think they had to take a shower after?
How could you not? Right? And the other thing too that I don't get is how in the fuck does Google walk any of this back in 4 to 6 years? How does Apple walk any of this back in 4 to 6 years? Like,
they're literally not even going to have to. They're just going to quietly change it back. Of course.
It's so fucking
It's so
boring.
depressing. I know it's so depressing, and that's always how it works. But no, it's so embarrassing. I'm like, do you think that like Mark Zuckerberg, he left that whatever containment pod that he filmed in, and he took off his tiny little chain and he changed back into his nerd clothes, and then he had to sit with his wife and they had to have dinner. And I'm like, how do you look your wife in the eye after rimming the shit out of Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean,
like, you're gonna have to change your relationship status. You're ethically non-monogamous now. You're unethically non-monogamous with Donald Trump.
Sexual favors edition. Yeah, yes. He was definitely gay for pay for a moment, because
they all are.
Yeah, it's insane. And and we'll jump back to that here in a second. But my original question, because I just want to know, and who knows what the audience wants, but whatever. It's my show. So obviously I run a sex podcast and I'm putting out unedited clips. I'm bleeping them on certain platforms, and other platforms like Facebook, I'm like putting them out unedited. I've been paid by Meta. I've had ads on my shit. I've never bleeped anything, whatever. I've gotten one single strike on Instagram, or I'm sorry, on Facebook, but on Instagram, I've had my account take it down, whatever. But I will say that since the Zuckerberg Trump tongue lashing of the asshole, and he pulled the fact checkers and he's like, we're not going to censor so much, we were all kind of wondering if it was going to trickle down to us sex creators, us porn adjacent creators that do whatever. I don't know. I do see a lot more unedited adult content, and mine seems to be doing like moderately better. But like, do you have any info, or do you have any thoughts on whether that helped or hurt or what?
I mean, the Erica Lust account got taken down like 3 days later. So I don't really believe in that personally. I have no clue. Honestly, I've kind of talked about this before, but I struggle with how to kind of censor my own content because it just feels so random, which is why, a big reason why I kind of am moving to Substack is because it's just, there's so little transparency with so many of these platforms. That's really frustrating. Like, obviously for years they've been saying that they don't censor kind of sexual education content, etc., but they do. We all know that they do.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody knows that they do, and they're like, shadow banning isn't real, but okay, then why can't I share any of my porn star friends' content to my story? Like there are actual functionalities that don't work for certain accounts. Like, it's very transparent, and I don't like being lied to, Mark.
Yeah, Mark, you motherfucker.
Yeah,
God,
Mark.
God damn it. Stop dressing like Benson Boone, too. That was fucking cringy as fuck.
Oh, it's so embarrassing.
Did you see that clip?
Yes, I did. It's so embarrassing. He's like, he's like if like Jack Harlow got, like, if like a photo of Jack Harlow got printed a bunch of times and the ink started to run out, and it's like one of the last printings where there's just so little ink in the printer of Jack Harlow, and that's Mark Zuckerberg right now. It's so sad.
Yeah, it's like if you were in really long relationship, and I've been there and I've done something, I'm sure, like similar, but you finally do break up with the person, and then you're like so devastated, but you need to get back out there because it's springtime and you don't want summer to go by. So
Yes,
you're trying really hard to
it's
like
hot boy summer.
to act like you're
Yes.
silly and you're not
Yeah, you're
crying at night.
goofy. Yeah, and you're like so pale because you haven't left your house in so long, and you're like, guys, I love the beach.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's get
yeah.
litty tonight. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
no, but if you watch his content, it is Let's Get Litty Tonight. It's leg presses and like Benson Boone costumes, but no audio. It's very strange. I mean, so it's very train wrecky, cringy. That's what's happening there. But yeah, the Erica Lust thing, that's terrible. Like I had heard that her whole shit got ripped right after that.
Yeah, for like the millionth time. And they appealed and they got it back eventually, and now they're like starting a new account. But it's just like I just don't believe that for a second because even, in that announcement saying that we're going back to our roots of like freedom of expression, like that has never applied to the adult industry. Like the adult industry has never not been censored on these platforms. Like it has always been an antagonistic relationship. So I
Yeah.
believe that they're going back to their roots of, catering to people that love saying the F slur. Like, congrats. Like
Right.
going
All
back
the
to your roots of 4chan, sure.
Yeah, gross. Fucking hot or not bullshit. Yeah. Because, look, and I've said this before, but Instagram was built on ass. There would be
Yeah,
no
it was
Instagram without ass.
literally like a fuck list for Mark Zuckerberg's like university friends.
But I mean, when they bought Instagram, well, even before, like the engagement shot through the fucking roof when pre OnlyFans, whatever, like women were like showing ass on Instagram and they let it roll. And then all of a sudden, here comes fucking Zuckerfuck, and they started really clamping down, I think maybe like 7 or 8 years ago or whatever it
Hmm.
was. But it's just there would be no Instagram would not be a successful platform without ass. I don't care
Yeah,
what anyone says. It's
this is what I write about is that no platform would be successful without ass. Nothing would exist without ass. Everything you see before you, ass. Okay? Everything that the sun touches, ass. Like that's
yeah.
every piece of technology, every platform, every, most basic mechanisms. It's all because of people being horny. That's that. Even just like photo uploading as a concept, every piece of like photo uploading or downloading or digitization technology, guess what the fucking like nerds working on this were doing their PhD theses working with Playboy magazines.
Hmm.
Like everything. Like it's all porn. Everything's made
Yeah.
of porn.
Everything. Yeah.
Everything is made of
100%.
porn. Quote me on it.
Furniture, fucking
Porn. I mean, people wish. People are into
kitchen
furniture.
kitchen utensils. Really, people are into furniture, like
You
furniture
know what I
porn.
read today?
What?
I read I read a piece of erotica, a very well written piece of erotica that was about JD Vance and his couch. And it was beautiful.
Wow. See,
Mm.
I feel like this is a very contradictory statement, but go on. I want to know why it was
I mean,
beautiful.
it was just well written. Somebody really put effort into it, and I was talking earlier on a different stream about about kind of political erotica and how this being like erotica about real politicians is like such a huge genre in the fan fiction erotica community. Like people love writing fan fiction porn about politicians, and we were kind of speculating why there really isn't very much like Trump and JD Vance porn, and I think it's because like nobody wants to see that. Like
Yeah.
it's like actually kind of upsetting, and my theory is that it's upsetting because JD Vance is such a like a deeply pathetic figure, I think, or that
Yeah.
it's just like it's kind of sad. And like I think that the only pairing that doesn't feel sort of like morally wrong, because he's so pathetic, is like putting him with furniture. You're like, okay, this is I think he's safe.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely burning up the Wayfair app on his phone for
Oh
sure.
my
Like,
God, yeah. Because
yeah.
he's ripping holes in those couches. He's hard as a rock for those couches.
Yeah. And
He's
now,
puncturing foam.
yeah, definitely, right? Like, and anything that's furniture related or furniture like adjacent is just not
Yeah.
safe around JD Vance for sure.
They
No.
do not let him into most of the bars in DC, I know for a fact, because he fucks the stools. This is
Oh
me
my
starting
God.
fake news. This is, oh, no fact checkers, Mark? JD Vance can't go into any of the bars in DC because he fucks the stools.
Yeah. Well, you know what's great? I promise you, I'm going to clip this and then just put it out on all over Meta, and we'll see what they do with it. Because,
Yeah.
like, why not? Why wouldn't I? Yeah.
Of course. Who are you going to call?
Not the Ghostbusters, because they've been fired. Yeah. Well, you know what's weird is during the election, there was this, like, again, sort of a subgenre of women, and whether it was fake or real, they were very like porn-esque. And they had like the one woman like had the Trump tattoo on her forehead, and she was like doing this thing on a fucking Instagram video where she was like getting on her knees, like opening her mouth like for a cum shot or whatever. And all these MAGA dudes, and I was like, hey, that tattoo is going to be really, it's not going to help anyone get there or whatever. And I got like into this huge fight, and I was like, wait a minute. So you guys are like coming to his name? And then all of a sudden, like, you son of a bitch, like they really got pissed.
That's cucky as hell. Being like, yeah. Actually, I want to I want to see his glorious name. I want to come onto his glorious name. Like you have a beautiful woman in front of you, and you're like, you know what would make this way better if her face was covered by Donald Trump's name. I'm like, you just want to fuck this guy, you know? And there are apps for that. Okay? Let's find you a new platform to join.
Yeah, there's a couple out there, and you know, as we know, like, you know, the fucking, well, even like a MAGA hat, they're like, oh, a MAGA hat would make her so much hotter. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Can we go back to your comment? And I'm like a stranger asking another stranger why he said that.
Excuse
and
me,
they're like,
pulling on his sleeve. Excuse me.
They're like, fuck you, lib. And I'm like, I just asked a question. You know, I'm sorry that it upset you, because like I'm genuinely curious about this shit. You know,
I just want to know about your accessories.
Yeah,
I just want to know your personal style. Do you like
fetish?
A bucket hat? Do you want to come into the bucket hat? We're just asking questions.
Yeah, we just want to know, because then the hats has to be washed or ruined. Yeah.
It's true, and some hats you can't wash, so it's actually really important. You're looking out for them. You're welcome. Yeah, MAGA.
Yeah, your laundry bill and shit, you know, because whatever. Okay, so from there, I did see something on your story about Justin Trudeau or something. It must have been you talking about your political fan fiction. Well, I mean, where are people going for like good fan fiction? Like, it doesn't have to be political, but like, are there certain places that people go to for like really well written fan fiction, or is it just certain creators that have their own?
I think that like AO3 reigns supreme as a platform, but I think that a lot of it is people are self-publishing on Amazon, which I think is really fascinating. Like that is really where a lot of the erotica community thrives. And even like I remember in the like sort of like early mid 2010s, people were making livings just like pumping out erotica on Amazon, and then they kind of changed their regulations around pricing, and it like tanked. Like Amazon accidentally tanked the like erotica economy, and it was like a huge deal in like 2015, I want to say. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it you can find on Amazon. I was really trying to find. There was this really popular like Justin Trudeau fan fiction novel, and it's gone. And it was published on Amazon, and it's totally gone. The like everything that this author has published is gone. And I'm like, what happened? Sam Shiver, where are you? Do you still
Wow.
write? Like, did you become like a trad wife? Like, where are they now?
Why? I mean, they disappeared him from the
It's
planet,
too
probably.
powerful. Sam was too powerful.
Yeah. So on Amazon, people will actually write like digital books for sale, and they would put them on Amazon.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
Jesus! See, I
Like
didn't
for like
even know that.
quite cheap. Um, and I mean, I do recommend going on Amazon and buying some random shit off of the
Yeah.
like self-published, just like ebook selection, because
Yeah.
people get creative and some of it is good. Not good as in good, but good as in bad. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No.
It's
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
to read. I recommend it. It's dirty. It gets real dirty.
Would you have a personal favorite genre of fan fiction that
Oh
you
my
like?
gosh.
Is it
I mean,
political? Is it?
I I do like the political stuff mostly because I think it's funny. Like I'm not like a I like fan fiction as like a genre of, I guess, like as a cultural lens of
Yeah.
like I think it's really powerful to see what like kind of grabs the fan fiction community. So
Hmm.
I like kind of like real people fiction of like, you know, celebrities or politicians or political figures or what have you. Just because I like seeing kind of like who catches people's eyes. This is what I was talking about earlier today, is just like who are the figures that like really capture people's, you know, attention and interest, and like who in the political landscape is like making people horny, you know, as
Yeah.
opposed to, and it's not always like the hotties. It's not necessary like Justin Trudeau is a hottie, but
Yeah. He's a good looking guy.
he's like, and he's a good looking guy, but
Hmm.
that's not necessarily what captures it, you know.
So yeah, and that you're totally right. Like now I'm fucking curious as shit. Now I have to go fucking look her. I mean, and
I've doomed
to
you.
my personal favorite is always like celebrity, but mainly like female pop singers was like
Mm.
it's like my jam with fan fiction. Um and the one that I feel like Tumblr was the best for fan fiction for a long
Oh,
time.
it was amazing. Because I also loved, I was never even a Harry Styles fan, but I
Mhm.
was a fan of Harry Styles fan fiction because he was the king for a long time. He
Yeah.
ruled the fan fiction domain. It was crazy. And the stuff
Yeah.
that people wrote, I think that it's like a boyish charm thing. People love a boyish charm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say on the female end, there is so much there's so much fan fiction about Ariana Grande. I would say she's like the number one, or was number one, like whatever.
Mm.
But also, I mean, there's a whole Taylor Swift thing, but that's sort of like dropped off. I think Taylor Swift fan fiction was the stuff that I was finding was like very incesty, right?
Fascinating.
Yeah, very incesty Taylor Swift, like her and her dad. Like there was like this whole thing about
Oh,
like
ew.
she
That's
had
wild.
yeah, it was like this thing.
Ew, but excited. Ew.
Right. Ooh, tell me
Like, tell me
more.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew. Send me that.
There were so many stories about how it all started the same way. It was like Taylor Swift um was 18 and wanted to take her career to the next level, and her dad took her to this huge record exec, and the record exec's like, well, I have to have sex with her, leave the room. So like he has sex with her, and then he brings the dad in and he's like, now you're gonna have sex with her, I'm gonna tape it.
Wow.
Right. And so there's like
This is
there's
fucked
like,
up.
yeah, there's a whole
This
thing.
gets dark.
Yeah, it gets really dark. It gets darker than that. YouTube has probably already ripped this video down in the future, but whatever. But there's multiple versions of it, you know, where it's like then they have like a relationship. It's a whole fucking thing. And then Ariana
Wow.
Grande was like, I don't know, just more like slutty, like by choice kind of a fucking
Mm-hmm.
kind
She's
of
a
a kind
wild
of
child
yeah, she's
kind of
wild.
thing.
She's like I'm
Just
so
wild and
horny
free.
after my concert. I need to find like a group of guys that I don't have any.
Classic. God, I'm sure that happens all the time.
Right. They just go
It's
cruising,
just true to
you know?
life. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
They get on the apps.
ironically, yeah. Right. I think she was having her team do it, right? Like, oh, we
Yeah,
got
yeah, totally.
seven
Yeah.
dudes in a
Her
warehouse. We
manager.
got to go. Yeah, yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shipping them in on my truck.
Exactly. And then what's crazy about the Ariana Grande thing, though, is it's to this day still, I think she's the most like AI like faked celebrity that I've seen on porn websites and shit. Like, I don't know why that is, but I've never seen. I mean,
You know
she's
who I
probably
see
the
a
one.
lot of, which is really weird, is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Really?
Yes. It was
You
like,
sure the videos aren't real?
I mean, that's true. He's like, it's AI, it's AI. But I mean, that's so interesting. I wonder why that is. But that's the thing,
Right.
is like, who is it that kind of captures people's imaginations,
Yeah.
and why? And like, what is the quality that kind of like inspires that?
Yeah, and is it like one person being the one who writes the fan fiction where it's like, we're gonna make her hook up with the record exec and her dad? People are like, yes, and then they all write their own version of that. And like the Ariana Grande thing, like, how does that get started? Is it like pretty much everyone else's fan fiction is in service of someone else who wrote a good written piece or whatever? Like, it is really crazy. There is I heard the craziest rumor about Leonardo DiCaprio that he either does still or used to just put AirPods in when he was having sex with women.
That's crazy.
Like, it was just like his thing. He just didn't want to hear anything. He just wanted to like have his own music. And
Wow,
then he was just done with it. Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
so wild.
I heard
I
that
don't
one a
know
lot.
how I would feel about that. I would be like,
it's
oh, bye.
yeah. And what is he listening to?
What is he listening to is really actually important.
For real.
What if it's like Imagine Dragons?
Yeah, that would be wild.
I would have to wait. Actually, here's a good question. What would, like, if you saw that they were listening to this while like inside of you? What would be like a song that you'd be like, absolutely not, I'll never see you again?
Oh God.
Like, what would really be like, oh my God?
Probably like fuck the police.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like
I was thinking like a Celine Dion, like a really sad Celine Dion one.
Yeah.
I would be like,
no.
oh,
No.
like I would be worried, or
yeah.
like Cotton Eye Joe or something like that. I'd be like, that's actually too kinky for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I said fuck the police because I was trying to think of something really angry, and I was like,
That's kind of hot, though. I would be into that.
It is kind of hot, yeah. Like, if I was the thing is, though, if I was having sex with someone and she pulled out a pair of AirPods, like, I wouldn't know. I'd be like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be the dominant person. What are you doing? Like,
well, that's why I was like, I think in this scenario, no matter who you're fucking, like, you're getting fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If they have AirPods in, you're getting pegged, Dustin. Sorry.
The AirPods are powerful. Like,
yes.
That's a thing. Like, you're done.
No one's taking with AirPods in.
I don't know. Maybe if they had a headache or something.
That's true. Maybe if someone's really nice.
Didn't like you. They were just like, I don't like you, so I'm going to block you out. I'm going to listen to my...
Well, that's a little too real. I was keeping it light, Dustin, but you took it in a direction.
Yeah, I always get dark. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if someone was like fingering my asshole to fuck the police, I'd be like, why that song?
I think that
I'm not a cop.
And this is like, yeah, I mean, for sure. But I think, and this is maybe my sickness, maybe this is a problem. I think that, like, if somebody was listening to like Korn or something like that, like a really angry song, I think I'd be into it. I'd be like, right, continue. Like, that makes sense to me. But if they were listening to something, just like, I don't know, like Diamond Day by Vashti Bunyan, I'd be like, I have to leave. I think
What if
I
it was
think
like,
I left something in the oven.
what
Like, I
if,
gotta go.
forgot to feed my fish. What if it was like Mozart or something, like something classical?
Something classical, I'm like, okay, that's a little bit American Psycho. I think I would
Oh
be
yeah.
scared. I think I would be like way more scared than if it was like something aggro.
Yeah, where's the piano wire? Where are you hiding it?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the last, I don't know, like what's some of, just pivoting right away.
Mm.
What are
You're like, get me
like
out of here.
what are your some of your favorite things that you have written in the last, like, I don't know, a month or two that really like blew your mind writing it? Like what topics, right?
I mean, I think that, yeah, so just about a month ago, I launched my like newsletter Substack, which has been really nice. I have been lucky to work with a number of kind of major mainstream media platforms, but a lot of the stuff that I want to write, I want to write it and I want to be able to, have people from the adult industry as my sources. I want to speak from, my own experience in the adult industry. So that's been really nice. And I have also been able to write a lot more frequently because I'm not kind of like bound by the pitch process. But yeah, I think that I really enjoyed writing about kind of the algo speak of kind of censoring online platforms, I think, and like censoring the word pornography and kind of what I think that does for somebody like me that's like trying to have more conversations about porn and bring pornography into more casual spaces, and how it's really difficult to do that when you can't say the word porn, and how that really, I think,
Oh,
enforces a lot of the shame and stigma around it. So that was
mhm.
really great. I got to write about step family porn, which was fantastic because obviously I there was no major media outlet that was going to take my op-ed about incest porn, but I got to publish that, and that was really interesting and fun because I really my background is in porn script writing, and I have written a lot of step family pornography, a lot of step family pornography, and I hadn't really seen like an industry perspective on the rise of step family porn and kind of
Mhm.
like the more practical elements of like why that is. So that was really fun. My last piece is about kind of fetish pornography and fetishes generally, and the eroticism of non-explicit content, which is sort of like an introduction, I would say, to a series that I had started on Instagram, but it was really difficult for me to post about on Instagram about kind of the different ways that we can find eroticism in content that might not resemble sexuality in any
Mhm.
way. So yeah, so I've just been having a great time writing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely want to go back to the step porn because that's a huge topic on the show, and I have some of the actors, porn performers that have done, and we've got both opinions on whether they like doing it or not doing it, and what all the things. And I'm a fan of it. I actually like shout. I actually like when I had a clip and I said like I'm going to Exotica or whatever, and I got my fucking OnlyFans hoodie and my whatever. But like, where's my fucking daughter swap hoodie? Where's my fucking mom swap hoodie? Whatever. And like, I was like, obviously, I'm serious, but I'm like joking around. And Team Skeet reached out to me and like, we'll get you some. What's your address or whatever? But
Amazing.
yeah, I know, right? I just think even at AVN, there's no one crazy enough to walk around in a fucking daughter swap hoodie. So I want to be that person, number one. And number
You
two,
you show up daughter swap tattooed, and you're like, it makes me come faster.
yeah,
For no
yeah.
reason. Don't read into it.
There's nothing there. Stop looking. But I mean, this is fascinating to me from so many different angles because it is always, and I say this so much, but it is, no matter, you could sit on Pornhub and just click refresh for months, and no matter what, MILF and STEP will be in the fucking top five all the time. So you wrote something about it. You've actually, if I heard you correctly, you actually wrote scripts for step porn.
A lot. I've written a lot.
Okay, here we
And this is
go.
this is the thing. It was an analysis, but it was also like a little bit of a confession because I think it's so interesting being in these spaces as a journalist with a lot of background in the adult industry because some of the things we're analyzing, you know, I'm part of it. You know, I'm part of
Right.
ostensibly in the way that it's been, you know, set up the problem, you know, like I'm the reason why a lot of step family porn exists in the world. So, you know, I have to kind of take accountability for that, and also kind of talk about why that happened for me, at least, because I've heard so many things. Like, this is what I kind of wrote about in the piece, but I've heard a lot of crazy conspiracies about how, you know, these porn platforms are like, you know, trying to push their incest agenda and things like that, which is funny, you know, hearing that and being like, well, I was the one writing it. And I'm like, I don't think that I have an incest agenda. But, you know, maybe it's something that I should think about. But like, no, like hearing that and being like, oh, like the actual reason that I was writing all this step family porn is because it's really easy to write. And I had a deadline and I was kind of brain off, and I was like, you know, it was 4:30 p.m. and I get off at 5, and it's like a really easy way to justify why 4 people are in a house and they're all fucking each other, you know, and it's just like a job is a job, you know, like, and I think that that's something that people sometimes forget, is like the real answers to things are often like the easiest and the most boring, you know, where
Yeah.
it's like there is no conspiracy necessarily, it's just actually, in terms of production, really easy, and we actually only have access to the same 5 houses in LA 95% of the time, so why are these people in the house again? You know, like, and also, like, people love a taboo, and to be honest, like, it's, people aren't so picky on the taboo that they'll take, I believe. Like, I think taboo is taboo, and it excites the same part of you, and it just so happened that it's easy to make incest porn, and so people were making it, people were watching it because it's taboo, they liked it, and then studios were like, well, people are watching it, there's an audience, and it's easy to make, let's make a crap ton of incest
Yeah.
porn.
Yeah. I have so many questions. Like, you just unlocked this like magical part of my brain, and especially like on the show, I'll talk to the people who do the scenes, and I'll ask them like, so is this something you don't like doing, you don't mind it, or it turns you on? And it's like, you know, I would say a large number of people fall in the I don't mind it, and actually it turns me on because it's like a fun taboo, whatever. 15-20% I'd say are like, I hate it, but I'll do it, or whatever the fuck, you know. And you're right, it does scratch that part of the brain that is like feeding you that sort of taboo thing that is there for I mean, you're a human, it's there or whatever. And I think it's insane that porn finds these things and scratches that itch rather safely, and then we all are like, hey, like, no one is asking the question, oh, wait a minute, why is this being consumed so much? You know what I mean? Instead of, why are you guys making people? It's like the guy from Pornhub is not coming over to my house with a shotgun and like making me watch
it.
watch it.
Watch
and you better
the mommy
come.
porn.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that tattoo on your head? Don't
Daughter
look at
swap.
that. Yeah.
You're not getting a hoodie unless you finish, and you need to watch 5 more at the whatever. So no one's doing that. So I think that's really, really, really fascinating. I mean, in the last 3 to 5 years, it's just been on a straight up trajectory, or what?
Well, this is the thing that I think I have the most problems with when I talk to somebody that is really critical of the adult industry, is that I believe that it's not even necessarily that I disagree with what people are saying about porn, or the discomfort that people have around pornography. Like, I understand that, you know, like, if you're going on the front page of Pornhub and it's all, you know, like teen girl gets destroyed, like, that's fucked, like 100%. Like, I'm not going to disagree with you, but it's the thing where it's like, why are we stopping with like, oh, that's really fucked up? It's like, we need to actually assess why there's a market for that. Like, the porn industry isn't making things without an audience. You know, no porn producer is making something that they don't think people are going to consume. Like, pornography is a mirror. It's a very honest mirror. Sometimes it's a little bit of a zoom mirror into, the power dynamics that already exist in our society and interpersonally. And it's reflecting it back at us. And if we are uncomfortable with that, you're not going to punch the mirror. Like, that's a little stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's terrible. Yeah. And again, I think the thing that everyone is missing is this is allowing you to explore the craziest things that you could never even do, even if you tried, but you can do it through porn, and you can do it safely without harming yourself, without harming someone else, without being the
It's an
creepy
outlet. It's a
stepbrother.
fantasy. And it's also something where it's like it gives people an outlet to find out what they don't want. And I don't think that people are realizing that either, of being like, everybody has these fantasies and these urges and these intrusive thoughts. That's human. And they usually, you start having them young enough that you're dumb. And like, pornography is a way that you can kind of safely explore that in, your own house, in your own world, and really think about, okay, is that something that I want to explore in the real world? Or is this something that maybe I just had a curiosity about, a natural curiosity, like a natural sexual curiosity, and I'm actually okay with just like kind of seeing this, and I've had my questions answered and I can go about my life. Like it is just a tool to inform or to fantasize, and just what people are watching in porn, it's not something that they're necessarily going to take into their sexual relationships in real life, unless, and this is a huge unless, there is no media literacy around pornography, or literacy or education around sex and how you should behave, which is true. Right now, there's very little. So I do think it gets complicated.
Yeah, it's very, very complicated. I mean, think about how many Thanksgiving dinners you probably saved with all of those scripts that you wrote for the taboo.
I'm a hero.
Family porn. Yeah.
I'm literally a hero. I should get a medal.
Yeah. I think so. Like in a full Star Wars moment where it's like a crowd of people and they're like putting a medal like around you.
Yes.
And in a true moment of inception here at the end, towards the end, because take as long as you want and whatever, I'm sure I'll have follow-ups. This will affect everything you said already. I haven't asked you the $64,000 question. Why porn? Why? What? And you've alluded to being involved in the porn industry, and I don't know if it's as a writer, as a performer, as both, or whatever. I don't know any of these things. So tell me and the audience who's just waiting with bated breath.
Sure.
Some of them are triggered.
They're
too,
all
like whatever.
Holding medals for me. I'm like, one at a time.
Yeah, it's metal porn.
Yes,
like a praise thing. But yeah, why porn?
I mean, I've worked as a writer and as a producer in the adult industry. I've never worked as a performer. I'm frankly just not really a performing type. I'm a behind the scenes gal, but I genuinely love pornography. And I think that it's something that is kind of difficult in like my current work, where I often write about pornography and its influence on legislation, and I have been a talking head in like various like kind of documentary and media projects, etc., about pornography. And the way that the media talks about porn is so serious, and so kind of heavy and weighted, and usually dark. And I think that we can forget that porn is really, really fun, and porn rocks. I love porn. Like, it's so fun. I think it's such an interesting and like wonderful genre of media. And I first started out writing mostly parody porn and like very gonzo, very like, big studio, step family, silly stuff. And like a lot of dick jokes, a lot of, things like that. Like it was like goofy, and I was doing stand-up comedy at the time as well. And it was just really fun. And I loved to have that much fun in writing. And I think something that I really love about pornography is people are so willing to suspend their disbelief when they're watching porn. They're really willing to go on journey, on a silly journey, on a sometimes stupid journey, on a ridiculous journey, if they feel like at some point maybe somebody's going to get naked, like they'll really stay with you. So you have really quite a lot of artistic license, I would say, or you can get away with a lot in a way that you kind of can't, I would say, in mainstream media. And also, I think that, the history of pornography, I think, is really important. The history of, sex work and obscenity and, where porn becomes art and art becomes porn. I just find really fascinating. And I think that we don't necessarily give it its flowers. And I do think that we should talk more about how porn is fucking fun. Like, why porn? Because it's fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, what a fucking amazing answer, which totally colors everything that we've covered already. Just some follow-up questions. I mean, and the thing is, the thing I always hear, the first thing I always hear before the death threat is like, porn isn't reality, porn isn't real. And I'm like, duh, because if you had to go watch your boring sex life, your normal sex life, whatever, there'd be no audience for that. Nobody wants.
That's the point. Is that it's entertainment.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's an entertainment product.
Totally. And those people are athletes, and that shit is like,
Olympic athletes. It's
totally.
It's crazy the level of like peak physical condition you have to be a porn performer, and like it's like Olympic level athlete. It's like literally like Hollywood stand-up comic level comedic timing. It's like you're hot as a supermodel. Like, it's like you're hitting all these points. This is why I don't perform, because I'm like, I can't. I like, God bless, I'll never be able to do it. I read the dick jokes. But like it is like I often compare when people are kind of frustrated about pornography or being like, well, porn teaches, unrealistic expectations for sex, is something that I question or comment that I field quite often. And I like to compare it with The Bachelor, because I would say if somebody watched The Bachelor and they went out and they tried to date like they were on The Bachelor, that would be crazy. That would be really bad. That's crazy. But luckily we have, all of this education and all of this media around dating and romance and how to do it. But obviously, if none of that existed and they would only watch The Bachelor, they would try to date like The Bachelor. And similarly, if somebody watches pornography and then they go out and they try to fuck like they're in a porno, that's bad. That's actually really bad behavior. You shouldn't do that. If anybody's listening, please don't do that, because obviously it's an entertainment product. It's not real. There's so much happening behind the scenes and intermittently during filming and afterwards that you're not seeing. And it's a fantasy, but unfortunately there is so little education around porn literacy and also sex education that people are relying on this entertainment product to educate them. And that's just not sustainable.
Yeah. The one that I always go to is, well, you wouldn't teach your child how to drive by having them watch Fast and Furious 1-11. You know what I mean? Like, it's a movie about driving that's like crazy, whatever. And they're like, oh, but I'm like, no, porn movie, driving movie. Now do it as you do, go back to your taboo porn now, whatever.
Daughter swap.
Go back to the daughter swap.
You reveal your daughter swap hoodie and also tattoo.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to be walking around at fucking AVN or Exotica with that. People are going to be like, man, that's a really difficult place to get a side eye, When
I see you at AVN or Exotica, you better be wearing the daughter swap hoodie, I gotta say.
Well, if Team Skeet would send the fucking hoodie. I don't care if it's mom swap, daughter swap, just swap, whatever.
Swap anything.
Yeah. I mean, where the hell is Pure Taboo at? I want a hoodie for that too.
Oh my God, I want some hoodies.
Kind of let's call these people out, and then we'll get all the free hoodies. Noelle Perdue, thank you so much for being with me on Sex Party. I would love to have you back. And when we disconnect or stop recording, rather, I'll ask you because I have some ideas already. I could sit and talk to you for another fucking hour plus.
Likewise.
But, but I won't do that this time. But I want to book you back in sooner than later. Until then, let's tell these party going people who are now like, holy shit, I'm in. Where can they find your work? Where can they find you? Where can they follow you on social? Everything.
Well, I am on Instagram, all_day_breakfast_. I am in an actively antagonistic relationship with Instagram. I much prefer that you subscribe to my Substack where I can actually talk about things. It's at Noelle Perdue. And also my Substack newsletter and site is called Porn World. So Porn World with Noelle Perdue. And that's where you can find me. Either way, come say hi.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you guys go over there. I'll push them to go over there too. And they'll be seeing all the content too by the time this arrives. But thank you so much for being with me on the show. I'll talk to you in a second about coming back.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Big thank you to my guest, Noelle Perdue, for being with me on the show this week. Make sure you go check out all of her work. Go follow her on Instagram. Subscribe to her Substack. I had such a blast talking to her. She will be back in the future. There will be more collaboration with Noelle. If you're loving guests like Noelle and you just, you're loving Sex Party and you never want the party to end, how can you show that love, that appreciation, that desire, that thirst for more? Well, if you're listening to this on platforms like Apple and Spotify, you could leave a rating, you could leave a review. Those things are wonderful and nice. I love them. They mean a lot. I will read them over and over again. But honestly, I think you're wasting your time. What you should do is subscribe to the show. That way you never miss a new episode every single Wednesday, especially if you are subscribed or you think you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts. They've been doing this strange thing where they're unsubscribing or pausing subscriptions to certain shows for whatever reason. So go to Apple Podcasts, go to Sex Party with Dustin Rybka. In the upper right-hand corner is going to be a button. If it looks like it's a pause button, click the button, drop-down menu will appear. Click on resume subscription, resume downloads. Boom, you're resubscribed. If you're watching on YouTube, I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, do you have a particular genre of porn that you just can't get enough of? Whatever it is, leave it in the comments. Remember, you're on YouTube, so censorship is a thing. But, find a creative way to leave it. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to make sure that you never miss a new episode, you're loving these episodes, you're hating these episodes, how can you show that love, that hate, that emotional rage towards the show? Well, you could like all the videos. You could, thumbs down all the videos. You could leave a comment, whether positive or negative. I will engage with you either way. But you really want to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you never miss a new episode every single Wednesday. As always, I'm available in the DMs on Instagram, and I will see you all right back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin at Dustin Rybka.